You asked me to act natural, and I acted natural. In fact, under the circumstances, I think I had to get a fucking Academy Award for how natural I acted. You asked me to get rid of him. I'm doing my best.
Well, your best better get a hell of a lot fucking better, or you are gonna feel a hell of a lot fucking worse.
You want burgers, hot dogs, some chicken, and ribs. Yeah! Yeah! Yeah!
So, have you ever watched a movie and you thought, oh my God, this movie is so great. And then you get halfway through the movie, it completely changes and you're like, what the fuck is this?
No, because of my brain, the way it works. When a movie changes into another movie, I get very excited. I was like, oh, I paid for 2 movies. I got 2 movies.
It makes me kind of angry. I wanted this to purely be an action movie.
But I mean, you got Selma Hayek.
Okay, I'm not mad about Salma Hayek.
You got Juliette Lewis.
I'm not mad about that either.
We got George Clooney.
I'm definitely not mad about that. Quentin
Tarantino, for those of you who dig that.
Do you like showing your feet to people? Because
yeah, I could hang with Tarantino.
I know.
We'd have a lot to discuss.
Oh
Anyway, welcome to Night of the Horror File. If you haven't caught on yet, we're going south of the border to Mexico to visit the Titty Twister. Because what did we watch this week?
From Dusk Till Dawn.
And I fucked up the intro. First of all, we're a podcast that takes a horror movie and shows my beautiful wife, Brittany. We have her watch it. Like there's more than
you.
But anyway, I have her watch a horror movie weekly, and then we kind of get her read on it because she has never seen anything. If you're just joining us, that's kind of how this works. So,
but actually
what?
For real life, I've seen this movie.
You have seen this. I remember you mentioning it a couple of times, and I remember you saying something about like it was okay, and I was like, oh. I fucking love this movie. So we're gonna, I was like, we got to do this sometime. So, and today's that time.
Today's the day.
Today's the day. So by the mid 1990s, cinema had a ton of vampires under its belt. This is not untreaded ground, really. Horror's favorite bloodsuckers had been everywhere, and it seemed like everything had been done with our creatures of the night. But with the 90s and Interview with the Vampire, it seemed the offspring of Dracula had been relegated to pasty, sex-crazed monsters and some allegories to heroin and drug addiction. The question was, in 1996, how do you make a unique vampire film? Well, for starters, you take the cool, slick dialogue and writing of Quentin Tarantino, who had hit success and legend status already with Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction, then combine that with the gritty grindhouse directing of Robert Rodriguez, who was riding high from El Mariachi and Desperado, two of my... Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting you.
You can interrupt me.
I know.
It is loud.
I did not know he did Pulp Fiction.
Quentin Tarantino?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Like...
That makes a lot of sense.
And the way this all came together is really funny because, like I said, Robert Rodriguez, by the time 96 rolls around, he's already done El Mariachi and Desperado, which are 2 of my all-time favorite movies. I love Robert Rodriguez. We'll get into that as we go. But yeah, the way this kind of came together was it was conceived originally by Robert Kurtzman, who we know as 1/3 of the K&B effects team. This was his first effort at writing and being more hands-on and developing a movie, not just doing the behind-the-scenes special effects.
Right.
So he kind of came up with the story and then got Quentin Tarantino to write it for him. Tarantino, this was his first paid writing assignment. And with a plethora of movie studios working together, you have Miramax before the Weinstein scandal, Dimension Films, Los Hooligans, A Band Apart, and you get one cool ass vampire film out of all this. But it was around 93 when Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino, they kind of became friends during the Toronto Film Festival. So they were already good buddies and stuff. And they had just they had their offices were in the same Dimension building, Dimension Films. So they were in the same building. So they would hang out just on and off. And so Robert Rodriguez was just in Quentin Tarantino's office chilling, writing Desperado one day in 93. And Quentin Tarantino was like, "Hey, did I ever show you my my Mexican vampire movie? The Mexican vampire movie I wrote?" And Robert Rodriguez is like, No, that sounds fucking cool. Can I read that? And that's how they got Robert Rodriguez on board. So we have a ton to cover here. So let's dive into 1996's From Dusk Till Dawn.
Dun, dun, dun. So an officer goes to a liquor store and stabs people.
Well, that would have been a weird intro. But, Quentin Tarantino nearly directed this movie himself. And honestly, it does feel like a Tarantino movie at times, especially the dialogue and the writing and stuff like that. But he felt he had enough on his plate, acting and writing. So he brought in, Robert Rodriguez. That's how they got them on board. And Robert Rodriguez brings his own signature style to this movie. That it's hard to really explain unless you've seen some other Robert Rodriguez movies, and I don't think you have.
I don't know.
You will.
Okay.
Especially at the end of the month. We have a big surprise. I think his style of directing and action and stuff really lends itself to Quentin Tarantino's writing. I think it's the perfect pair.
Sure.
To do a movie together, this kind of movie together, first of all. But, there was talks about Rennie Harlin and Tony Scott maybe directing. And I'm thankful they didn't fucking touch this movie because I think it would have suffered greatly, especially Rennie Harlin.
Yeah,
this
fuck
would
that
not
dude.
have been,
I'm just kidding.
You're like, I have no clue who you're talking about. So fuck them if you say so.
If you say so, fuck
if you
them.
say so.
So an officer goes into a liquor store and him and the worker are talking about the town and the new mass murders that are headed to their town. Murderers, sorry.
Yeah.
The officer goes to the bathroom, and this is where we meet Seth and Richie, our main characters.
Yeah.
And they come out and they're holding two girls hostage and this worker.
Right.
I don't know this worker's name.
Pete.
Pete, okay.
But the thing is, Pete Bottoms, in fact. But the thing is about this little intro, there's going to be a lot of scenes that we don't cover thoroughly because there is so much dialogue.
Oh my God, there's so much.
It's a Tarantino movie.
Right.
It's so dialogue heavy that you will have and this is all of Tarantino's films. They're just swaths of long dialogue that it's not boring somehow. That's the thing.
Right.
That's the problem. I don't know how he does that, but anyone else doing a movie like this where because they're basically just talking about his food sickness he got from pigs in a blanket at a diner. And he's sitting there talking about that, but somehow that's not boring. I don't know how Tarantino does that. But here at the counter, we have John Hawkes as the gas station liquor store attendant, Pete Bottoms. And now the interesting thing about John Hawkes is before he was an award-winning actor, you might know him from the movie Winter's Bone, in fact. Do you remember that movie?
No.
No? You never saw that?
I don't know anything about that.
Oh, shit. It's a good movie. Oh, I thought you had seen it. Anyway.
Does it have Jennifer Lawrence in it?
Yes, it does.
Then I've seen...
It's the backwoods kind of thing?
5 minutes of it.
Oh. Well, he plays her uncle in that movie. He won an award for it. It was very good. Yeah, he's a very accomplished actor. But before all the awards, Hawks had he'd hitchhiked across the U.S. You got to start somewhere. During these rides, he'd play various characters out in the driver. Like for the drivers, they'd pick him up and he'd be a different person each time he'd be riding with them. So he was just kind of practicing. Hawks has no formal acting training. That's one kind of interesting part. He just walked out acting when he was born, I guess.
He just walked out of the vagina.
No joke.
I'm an actor now.
Show me to the screen. This baby's fucking talking. But
so Seth and Richie are mad at Pete because he let the officer go to the bathroom. When the officer comes back, Richie ends up shooting him, then shoots Pete because he thinks that Pete was sending signals to the officer.
He's sending that pig signals. I don't know. I love the banter between George Clooney and
Quentin
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Their banter together in this movie is so great.
Because the thing is,
Uh-huh.
and you could tell right from this scene, Seth is the older brother.
Right.
And he's having to clean up Richie's fucking mess.
Yes.
And he does not want to clean it up this way. But this is the only way that he can because Richie keeps fucking killing people.
And that's and that's funny too, because that's not explained to us really. It just comes out in that dialogue.
Oh, yeah,
that's
for
the
sure.
beauty of a Tarantino movie.
Right.
Is all that comes out in the way they talk and how they act. That's all you need to know. You're not going to get any flashbacks or anything weird like that. You know, you just got some nice dialogue to really send it across. And I don't know that these characters seem so fleshed out for that, you know?
Right.
But the poor unfortunate ranger that gets shot in the head here by Richie is played by the amazingly underrated Michael Parks. Pretty much I think he's one of the most underrated actors that ever lived. The man was a fucking chameleon. He literally saved that Kevin Smith movie Tusk. He played like the main, is it antagonist?
I don't know.
Oh, why am I trying to use fancy words?
I don't know.
He played the villain in that fucking movie. And oh my God, it's so good for him. Like that, Tusk is a decent movie, but the parts you really want to watch are the parts with Michael Parks. That's all you really need. You just need him vamping because there are so many scenes. I love that movie. We'll cover it at some time. I don't know when. We're going to be doing this forever, so it's all good. Earl
Jesus.
McGraw is the Ranger's name, and he actually will pop up in a few other Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez movies. So,
Nice.
so he comes popping up, especially in Kill Bill. He's in that. You hated Kill Bill, and
Yes.
I think we need to review.
No,
I think
no,
we need to revisit
no,
Kill Bill at some point.
Nope.
Oh, we will.
Nope.
Nope. I hope you're ready.
Nope. He's like, I'm writing this down for February.
Oh yeah. Ooh, somebody request the Kill Bill series.
Don't do it.
May is coming. Viewer request or listener request month is coming in May.
Nope. There's so many other better movies. There's a bunch of movies next to me. I will watch any of them. Not Kill Bill.
Oh shit. We're going to get her to watch Kill Bill, people. Don't worry.
No.
But anyway, now I know we talked about this movie before this episode, obviously. And at the top of the show, we kind of dove into what I'm about to ask you. But why such a strong issue with the shift of tone in this movie?
I like to know what kind of fucking movie I'm watching.
Yeah.
Okay, so
you know, before you go into it, I think we should explain to some of our listeners, because we got some young listeners and stuff that were born after 1992. So we should probably explain this. But like back in 96, like when a movie was around, and especially you further on into the 2000s, if you weren't keeping up with trailers and you weren't really, nothing was on your radar, you would have no clue what this movie was. If you just went and picked
for
it up.
sure. Not one bit.
Because that's how I first saw it. My sister picked it up at a rental place thinking it was just another Pulp Fiction movie.
Right.
So she picked it up and brought it home. And we watched it. And so, yeah, that tone of shift was such a fucking shock.
Right.
Because it's like, whoa, vampires. Hang on.
Right.
Whoa, what happened?
I remember where I was when I watched this movie for the first time. I don't quite remember who turned it on the TV.
Okay. It may have just been on because I remember this movie played on TBS and shit and TNT
all the time.
Like all the fucking time.
Someone had turned it on.
Uh-huh.
I have no fucking clue. So I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. So I start watching it, and I'm really engaged in it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. There's a fine line with movies with me. Like, if I'm not hooked within the first, I'll say 10 minutes, I usually just give up.
No, you know what? I share that, you know. I'll say it more than once probably on this episode, but the biggest sin a movie can do is to be boring. And so, yeah, if I'm not drawn into your story, at least
Right.
in the first 10 to 20 minutes, I'm probably going to set you down and pick you up another time.
Well, see, you'll pick it up another time, not me. I'm like, whatever. I don't care about that.
See, I always reserve judgment for a movie until I'm completely watched it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And maybe twice over.
But I'm like, oh, I don't know. And well, no, I loved it at first. And then, so I'm like really into it. I'm really into this action and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And then these fucking vampires happen. I was like, yeah, fuck this. I'm out. I'm out. Fuck this. This is not what I wanted. I didn't sign up for a vampire movie. I signed up for an action movie because in the first
I understand.
fucking 20 minutes of this movie, everybody's fucking getting shot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is really cool.
It's an almost by the books crime thriller at the very beginning.
Right. I like a good mass murder.
Well, that is
It sounds
that is like
crazy.
one part disturbing, one part hot, but I don't know where to take that from here. But here's the thing. I'm sorry. I have to pause for a
didn't mean
second.
to say it
Oh my
like that.
God, that was so funny. I love a good mass murder. Jesus, man.
That's a t-shirt.
Oh shit, we should. I don't know if we can put that on a t-shirt. I think somebody's going to be suing. You're going to get us Alex Jones off the internet.
I like a good mass
Oh fuck. Oh.
Oh.
Well, here's the thing. And it took audiences years to get on board with this kind of shit. I think it took until the movie we're going to cover at the end of this month. But it took until like 2010 before people really understood what Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez keep trying to do. And that's to bring the grindhouse cinema back. I mean, Quentin Tarantino's movies in themselves are inspired heavily by old grindhouse flicks of like the 60s and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Same with Robert Rodriguez. So it's no mystery that one of their biggest influences is those 60s and 70s movies. In fact, that they would team up later to do a set of movies that recreated the feel of a grindhouse double feature, complete with trailers. And well, obviously that was called the Grindhouse. They did Death Proof and Planet Terror, which would have been years later, and people did not understand that at all. It bombed. It's very hard to describe the Grindhouse feel to you.
Yeah,
but this
I don't
is
know.
it.
Oh, okay. This
From
is
Dusk
it.
Till Dawn is a good little intro to what a Grindhouse movie is.
Okay.
To me, the Grindhouse tribute really starts with From Dusk Till Dawn. It's with this movie that they kind of start doing that. It's the perfect vampire Grindhouse movie. You get everything you'd want coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. In a Grindhouse movie, they were like a special spectacle. You never needed to take those flicks seriously, and there was barely any commentary on social problems or anything. I mean, not to say they didn't carry their own social weight and messages and stuff. They did, because these are filmmakers still. But they were supposed to be just fun thrill rides, but done cheap.
Dirty deeds done church.
Okay. But in these movies, you had fast cars, guns, gory bits here and there, and of course, gorgeous women abound. And what's kind of funny is when film students and pompous movie assholes comb through Tarantino's body of work and his writing, they don't usually stick too much time with these movies that he does, like From Dusk Till Dawn. They don't stick too much time with that because Tarantino doesn't have much to say here. He's telling a fun story.
Okay, yeah.
Rodriguez is the same way, though. All of his movies are fun, especially El Mariachi, which is a wonderful example of achieving success on a lower than shoestring budget. Rodriguez pulled that one off using only $7,000.
Holy shit.
He wrote a book about it. That book, The Making of El Mariachi, has become like a Bible to indie filmmakers, trying to figure out how they can break into that success area
on such a low
fucking budget.
Yeah.
$7,000. And when you watch El Mariachi and you realize that's the budget they had, you're like, holy fuck, this guy's going places, because that is very creative. And surprisingly, they pulled this one off with $16 million, which by 96 standards is pretty modest.
I don't know. It seems like a lot of money. I don't know if I had $16 million.
Well, you know, a few of our movies we covered hit maybe 4 million and stuff in budget and stuff like that. So like when you consider like the blockbusters that were coming out around 96, 16 million is kind of low, especially the amount they made back. They made double and then some with this movie.
Oh yeah.
Mostly due to Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's name on the poster.
For sure. Oh, and George Clooney.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, actually, what's funny is George Clooney wasn't a big star at this point. He hadn't hit it big yet.
With ER?
He was popular on ER, but he was popular as a suave doctor on a soap opera.
Oh, that's true. Not a badass.
He hadn't really broke into before this, he had done some movies, but then before that, I mean, he was in Revenge of the Killer Tomatoes and like some other low budget horror movies that we will cover. It's hilarious to go back and look at where he started. But no, like that's the idea that they keep trying to bring to us is the grindhouse era. And it seems like audience didn't catch on until years later. Which, like I said, when that Grindhouse double feature came out, I mean, I went and saw it in theaters and it was amazing. It was like you were at the Grindhouse again. They recreated everything to where, like, you know, you had your first movie, and then in the middle, you had all these trailers, and they had all these guest directors come in and direct these fake, old-looking movie trailers. Like Eli Roth, like, had a Thanksgiving trailer and stuff where he's killing people and baking people into turkeys. And like there was one from Rob Zombie where it was Werewolves of the SS.
Oh my gosh.
Shit, and it had Nick Cage as the head werewolf.
Oh my gosh.
But that one bombed, which is surprising, but that's the idea that they're going for with this movie. Well, like that's what I say is From Dusk Till Dawn is a Grindhouse movie.
Okay.
And so the formula seems very weird to you.
Yes.
So that's what I mean. Like, because one day we'll go back and look at some of these old Grindhouse movies, especially the Sam Fuller pulp movies and stuff, which we'll talk about Sam Fuller in a minute. But those kind of movies, the formulas were just wacky. Just like 180s and stuff like they do in this movie. It's wild.
Okay. Words. So many words.
I know. I kind of went on a long ass tangent there. Let's get back to the movie.
Okay. So Pete gets his gun and he shoots at them. So they throw a Molotov cocktail at him and he's on fire, but he's shooting at them while he's on fire. They finally kill him. And he falls to the ground, and there's this popcorn around him that starts popping. Like there's like popcorn kernels or something, and he just starts popping popcorn. Seth is pissed at Richie because Richie is paranoid that everyone knows who they are, and Seth seems tired of cleaning up after Richie, like I said before.
Yeah. So
they start driving, and we see this little glimpse of a woman in the trunk of the car. I don't know how to explain it. They like,
again, it's like a cutaway view of the trunk and we see her in there.
Right.
Like, as this little, it's a funny little scene. And this intro though, with them casually just arguing while a liquor store explodes behind them, it really gets us in the mood of this movie. You know, it's like cinematic foreplay. We immediately hear the blasters cranking out Dark Knight over this title scroll, which is very reminiscent of Grindhouse movies. And we get all the backstory we need of the Gecko brothers in these first few scenes.
Right.
Like, especially the whole point of Richie going into this liquor store was just to buy a road map.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, is because on the way out, hey, there's the map. He grabs it and leaves.
All he had to do was fucking grab the road map, and then Richie. Anyway, so they stop at a motel and get the woman out of the car. They start talking about how they owe people money, and Richie wants to lessen the percentage that they owe them, I guess. And Seth then goes over the rules with this lady. She's a bank teller that they kidnapped after they robbed a bank. And then he leaves. Richie stays with the woman, and he wants the woman to watch TV with him.
Yeah, real creepy like, though.
Yeah, he's like, pat, pat, pat. And her name is Gloria.
Yeah. So one question I have for you is, I don't know how you felt watching this. Like, normally watching a movie, there's always that one character you gravitate towards and you connect to, and you kind of like tend to follow a certain character. And for everybody, it's different, you know, especially with ensemble casts like this, you know, you're always going to find somebody different. But for me, you're kind of constantly fighting to stay with Seth.
Yeah.
Because he's not a good guy. They make it explicitly clear that, he has his own moral compass and stuff.
Right.
About just being a thief, not being a killer unless he has to kill.
Right.
But, like, he's not a good guy. They don't go out of their way to make him out to be this super awesome hero or anything like that.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to stick with him. And then it's also I mean, you obviously are never going to stick with Richie. It's a fucking psychopath. But, you know, the Fuller family later, we'll get to them, but, like, I don't really stick with any of them either. Like, they're not like the character I follow. So you're constantly wanting to follow Seth, but at the same time, you're like,
Well, I don't know. I liked Kate.
That's true. Yeah, I see how she could be the kind of weight, you know?
Right. But really, Seth, like,
yeah,
it is.
And maybe it's because it's George Clooney, you think?
I don't think necessarily it's because it's George Clooney.
That's true.
I think because he is
he's the most reasonable.
I was going to say he's the middle ground.
Uh-huh.
Richie's just over here all crazy. Like they can see what I'm doing, but over here all crazy and paranoid and just killing people and all this stuff. And then you have the Fuller family who are not like that at all. Like, they're just normal people.
Which is an amazing contrast. I enjoy Jacob being with Seth. Their scenes together are like the greatest scenes ever.
And so he's kind of in the middle, and he's kind of running the show. Yeah. Like, really, if you think about it, Richie's kind of running the show because it's kind of going off of what Richie's doing.
It is true. Like, every thing that really happens in this first half of the movie
is because of
Richie. It's his
but Seth is really the boss. Like, he's the main. I don't know how to say it.
Well, Tarantino plays Richie, obviously, and my lord, this character is a fucking scumbag.
Oh yeah,
he's almost a bigger monster than the actual eventual monsters that we get to at the end of this movie. Richie is definitely a low-key serial killer, you know, like complete with his own paranoid delusions, which explains why he had such a hard time buying a fucking roadmap. And I do appreciate that they don't really try to make, you know, I said that, well, I kind of touched on this, but I kind of appreciate that they don't try to make Seth or Richie sympathetic characters.
Right.
Because you're kind of just dropped into this world.
Right.
Like, you're not, I mean, you can feel later for some other characters at the end of the movie, but like right now, like, you're not really like sympathizing with anybody.
No.
I mean, at this moment, like, you're not sympathizing with anybody, and they don't go out of their way to make you like, oh, you should care about Richie. He really has some troubles or something. You know what I mean? Like, they don't show him like battling with his demons. He's just a fucking psychopath. Deal with it. Like, and that's what I appreciate about this movie is we're not going into all this shit. I think a lesser movie would have had some backstory and all sorts of like weird dialogue where it explains Richie's behavior.
We kind of get it a little bit. We kind of get it a little bit in a minute, but not a whole lot.
No. But I mean,
we get
it. We have it here. We see a few scenes, real quick scenes. That's all we need. And we know what our character is doing. But yeah, Seth is that closest we get to an anti-hero of sorts, I guess.
Yes.
But what I do like, though, that's a little different about this movie is Seth, and spoilers, Seth is like one of the only survivors along with Kate. But Seth doesn't have a character arc.
I don't know what that means.
It feels like, a character arc is when a character goes through changes and develops into something either better or worse than he started at the very beginning.
Right.
He doesn't have one.
No.
Like, and that's, I don't know why I love that. It's like a middle fucking finger Because at the end of this movie, Seth is not coming out a changed man.
No.
He's just like, all right, I fucking had to kill some vampires. Let's keep going. Let's keep going with the money. Let's get to where I was going.
This is what I was doing, and now I'm still doing it. I just had to kill some
and
vampires.
I love that. It's like a big fucking middle finger to everybody. It's
Right.
like, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to really say about Seth and Richie. Like, they're not thin characters, but do we need any more
No.
of like
No.
we don't need, they're rich enough. Like, so we'll just go with it.
Right. So at a cafe, this is where we meet the Fullers. A dad, and his name is Jacob, and his two kids, Kate and what's the boy's name?
Scott.
Scott.
Yeah.
Kate and Scott. They're going to drive to Mexico. They have a camper and seem to be running away from something. Jacob is an ex-pastor, but he says pastor, like he's a fucking farmland pastor. But he says he can't practice anymore. He's really questioning his religion.
Yeah, which
or his
again,
faith.
just from the
point.
dialogue, we get all this stuff. I mean, we figure out that his wife dies later on and stuff, and that's why they're on this vacation, probably just trying to clear their minds and get away, do something, you know.
Right.
He's a pastor that lost his faith, so he's, I don't know, they might be out finding Jesus, but you know,
They're just going to Mexico.
Exactly. Like, it's just from the dialogue you gather what these characters are.
Right.
I can't stress that enough. Like, because a lot of people that hate Quentin Tarantino movies, and I'm talking about Tarantino a lot here because it's more about his writing. A lot of people that hate Tarantino movies don't tend to like to sit there and listen.
Well, I mean,
Like, I've noticed that because, like, we'll take Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that his most recent movie. That movie is a hangout movie.
okay.
It's just characters walking around talking to each other. That's all that movie is. But at the same time, it's wonderful. Like, there's stakes in that movie, but they're not like huge stakes or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, there's nothing like life-changing happening in that movie. But a lot of people that hate that kind of stuff find those kind of things boring. And I feel like, I don't know. I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like you'd enjoy his regular movies. Kill Bill is the exception to all his movies. Kill Bill is nothing but action. Like, nonstop, just kung fu
Stupid.
movie. And yes, it's supposed to be. But the thing is, like, Kill Bill is completely different. So maybe you not liking that movie, you'd probably like his other movies. That's what I mean. They're more like actual movies. And that's another thing is Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino make actual movies.
Right.
I mean, in a world where we're dominated at the box office by Marvel movies and who, you know, whatever Iron Man is sticking his dick on the screen at some point. That's what we have to go gravitate towards. No one makes an actual fucking movie anymore. It's just a green screen fucking mess that I'm like, hey, how about somebody fucking writes these things? How about that? But anyway, I'm not the mass of American audiences, so I can't. And I am rambling. Let's get back to back to the actual movie that we're talking about here. I don't even know what my tangent was. I just went off. But Jacob Fuller here, which the family name Fuller is derived from Sam Fuller. Now, I mentioned Sam Fuller earlier. Now, Sam Fuller was a screenwriter and novelist and director who did these understated genre films like Naked Kiss, Shot Corridor, and of course, White Dog, which is actually a very interesting film about racism. It's a racist dog.
Nice.
But it's got a lot of commentary in that. It's a very good movie. But Jacob here is played by Harvey Keitel, who is one of those actors that I'll watch him do whatever. Harvey Keitel just eating a burrito for an hour and a half. All right, we'll watch that. Pop it in. But
the burrito or the movie?
Both?
You said just
we just hit a meta moment. What? Burrito and the movie? But I don't really have to go into Harvey Keitel's massive. No, I don't want to do that. You get to see his dick, I think, in Bad Lieutenant, which has There's a scene in that movie that disturbs the shit out of me, and it's not any of the scenes you guys are thinking about. But that's another episode.
Anyway,
but no introduction needed, I feel, for Harvey Keitel. But then you have Juliette Lewis, and my lord, the crushes I have in this movie. Juliette Lewis was actually exploding around this time with films like Natural Born Killers. That movie is where Quentin Tarantino and her became friends. And that explains why she's in this movie. But Natural Born Killers, in fact, Quentin Tarantino wrote that movie, but they changed his script so much that they only gave him a story by credit, and he was pissed off. But I know way too much about this shit. But she was in Cape Fear, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and of course in '89 she was in Christmas Vacation, as Audrey, I believe is her name in that movie.
Yeah.
All these were under her belt before From Dusk Till Dawn. Now Scott is played by newcomer Ernest Liu, and I wish I could say he went on to be super successful, but he didn't really do much after this. I think in total he did 10 movies.
I mean, that's 10 more than what I've done.
And 9 I've never heard of, though. I don't know what they are.
Nice. So a newscast is playing about Seth and Richie and how they are basically career criminals. If I remember correctly, because for some reason I didn't write this down, Seth was in jail for armed robbery, and Richie was in jail for rape and murder or something like that.
Yeah, they make it immediately clear that, Richie's fucked up.
Right. Well, they both escaped and then killed a bunch of cops and innocent people, and they're still on the run.
Yeah, and by the way, on this little newscast, we get a little death counter, which sounds silly, but when you turn on CNN today, you have a giant death counter staring you in the face, and so it's not beyond, it's not fiction anymore. Fuck.
Right.
Anyway, but during this little newscast, and I know you had a problem with this little newscast snippet. I felt like you didn't care for this.
I thought it was fine.
Or was this just part of the whole nothing they did before the vampires mattered?
Oh, I thought it was fine.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a problem with this, but anyway. This here is Kelly Preston playing the newscaster. Of course, she was married to...
You know why you thought I was annoyed with this scene? It's because I was trying to watch this movie and you kept saying shit. And it was during this scene that you wouldn't shut the fuck up. And I was like, I am really trying to listen to this. I'm really trying to do this. And you will just not shut the fuck up. So I was trying to be nice and listen to you. So I wasn't annoyed about the movie. I was annoyed at you.
Oh, makes complete sense. Okay. Just as long as it was at me, not the movie.
Like, really? You're saying all these things to me and you're going to say them when we're on the podcast, so just shut the fuck up.
In reality, I should shut the fuck up. You mention it.
I know.
So I'm just going to regurgitate it all again here.
I know.
So you have to hear it twice.
And I'm so nice. I just... listen to you, I
think the listeners really don't understand what it's like living with me.
That's good.
Just randomly like, oh man, you guys know that this movie has this guy in it and this guy did this and that guy did that, but then he did this and it wasn't as great. And it's like, it goes on for about 3.5 hours. But anyway, in this newscast, you got Kelly Preston playing the newscaster, who was married to John Travolta, and then you have John Saxon, screen legend, coming out as the guy hunting them down and stuff. John Saxon being in A Nightmare on Elm Street, he played Heather Langenkamp's dad and stuff like that. Yeah. And Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, which is one of my favorite Bruce Lee movies.
Okay.
Again, this is if you lived with me, this is 24/7. But sadly, both these actors passed in 2020.
COVID?
Yes.
Really?
No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I shouldn't joke about COVID. We're going to get fucking letters about that. But no, they did pass in 2020, which, you hear a lot of people going, God, we lost so many actors and stuff in 2020. But really, if you just kind of track through the years, it's kind of the normal amount. We're just noticing it more. I don't
know.
You know what I mean? It's very weird. Anyway, back to the movie.
So Seth says that they need to get to Mexico tonight. Then he realizes that Gloria is gone. And Richie has shot her because he says she was trying to get away. And Seth just loses it on Richie because he's a bank robber, not a killer or a rapist like Richie.
Now, during this scene, I'm not sure if it's 100% clear that he shot her, but she is laying almost naked on the bed, like blood sprayed everywhere. So
right.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he probably shot her and raped her.
Yeah. Anyway, again, you get this scene where like even Seth here is just like,
he's just so fucking tired.
Yeah, he's like,
of cleaning
what
up
the fuck
mess.
is wrong with you?
Right?
Is it me? Did I do this?
Yeah, he's like, is it me?
Yeah.
What did I do?
And George motherfucking Clooney. I mean, we got to get into this.
Oh, I will.
Oh shit. You're going to get into him?
I am.
I don't know if he's into that. You know what's really funny?
I don't care.
Is if you watch the behind the scenes thing, his assistant was constantly going and getting him Taco Bell. so George Clooney was just constantly consuming Taco Bell on this set. Just a funny little fact. But this was his first major film. You know, like I said, he had been in a few hilarious low-budget schlockfest movies like Return of the Killer Tomatoes and stuff like that, and Grizzly 2, which recently just surfaced and came out. But at this point, he was playing the suave, hunky doctor on ER. You know, a role that really helped him get under the radar for bigger projects. But this one took him off. Like, this is how he became a star. For this movie, though, he was paid only $250,000.
Oh, only?
Yeah, which is change compared to the millions he gets today for a role. Now, surprisingly, like I said, this movie made him a star, but he played, what did it was he played so against type. You know, at this point in 96, you were so used to seeing his character on ER, which is this understated kind of like normal guy character and stuff.
Right.
But very calm and stuff like that. But he played the complete opposite of that in this movie. So
right.
like, that's really what helped him get out there. It's not just being associated with Quentin Tarantino. I mean, that helps.
Right.
But, you know, it really, as the cold-blooded criminal Seth Gecko, it really helps show off his ability to command a screen and do whatever is needed. I mean, fuck. He goes from crime spree road movie to vampire hunter at the end of this fucking whole entire movie.
Right.
So and what's even fucking funnier is watching this. Clooney was such a not bankable star at this time that he didn't receive top billing in those credits. Harvey Keitel did, who was a much bigger star at the time. Now, Clooney wasn't the only one up for the role of Seth Gecko. In fact, Antonio Banderas, Steve Buscemi, Robert De Niro, Jeff Goldblum, Christopher Walken, and even John Travolta were considered.
Holy shit.
Yeah. John Travolta actually turned this down and chose to go with Pulp Fiction instead.
Good choice.
Yeah, because remember,
I mean, this is a great movie. They're both great movies, but like,
I something would have been weird with John Travolta.
That's what I was thinking.
It wouldn't have stuck very well, but and it might be kind of confusing the way I talk and stuff about like all the different projects swirling around the same time from 1990 to like 99. Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez are going fucking insane with projects. So like things are overlapping here and there. But that's just how it works, you know. It's how you're busy.
They were at their peak.
Yeah. So like most busy directors and filmmakers, you know, lots of projects overlapped. In fact, Tarantino was paid for this, but he also did it because Robert Kurtzman created that ear cutting scene you see in Reservoir Dogs, which I know you haven't seen Reservoir Dogs yet, but
have I not?
That's you'd remember that scene where he's dancing around and then he cuts that cop's ear off.
I don't think I've seen that, but it's a sequel, right?
No. Reservoir Dogs came out before Pulp Fiction.
Not a sequel to Pulp Fiction. No, I'm just saying a sequel in general to something. Is there a sequel to Reservoir Dogs?
No.
What the fuck am I thinking of then?
Dog Day Afternoon with Al Pacino?
No.
Straw dogs?
No, it has nothing to do with dogs.
White Dog, the Sam Fuller movie?
No. I really thought that was, what is that movie?
Oh God, are we video storing it? What's that movie with that one guy? who was in
Yes.
that one thing?
Yes. That's exactly what it is. I don't know. I'd have to really think about it.
Oh shit.
It doesn't matter.
Oh, that's gonna drive me nuts now. Anyway, it'll probably pop in your brain as soon as we get to the vampires here in a little bit.
Right.
When are they gonna get to the vampires? I just keep imagining somebody.
Never. We left that whole part out. Fuck that
would
part.
be so fucking funny if we did a 180 in this show like they do in this movie, and it's just like all of a sudden we're talking about a Charlie Brown Christmas.
Okay, they didn't go that extreme.
But that would
okay.
be funny.
We
Although
just
we'd
left
lose
off.
all our subscribers.
We just leave off after Salma Hayek, and then that's it.
And then Quentin Tarantino licks her foot, and then credits, man. Weird movie. Weird movie.
Weird.
Weird.
We didn't have any resolutions to anything.
Weird. I mean, cool, but weird.
But weird. So the dad. So Jacob and the kids stop at the same motel that Seth and Richard are at. They actually almost run over Seth, and you can tell that he has a plan when he sees this camper.
Yeah.
Richie knocks on their door, and he punches Jacob out, and then Seth puts a gun in Scott's mouth, and Richie's getting all rapey around Kate. Jacob is not happy about this, obviously, but agrees to go with them so his family doesn't die. There's so much dialogue in this little thing. This is just a quick summary of
It's so funny. It was so funny watching you trying to take notes because you're watching the movie and you're enjoying it. But at the same time, you're like, do I write this down? I don't. Do I write the part where she turns around and he thinks she says to eat her pussy out? Like,
Right.
what are we doing here? Like that was actually very entertaining to me. I'm sorry.
And you wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I know. It's a Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez thing. It's gonna happen with all their movies, and I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, I'm a nerd like that. I'm a huge Tarantino
I wish you
nerd.
had somebody that you could just call, like a friend, and just be like, yo, dude, I know this and 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 this.
Just unload on them and not unload on you is what you're saying. You're like, I have to do this with you almost professionally. And so like doing it in our personal life is getting too much.
Right. We decided a long time ago that this was a very professional, like this is like a business thing.
We're not husband and wife
when
we're doing the podcast.
I mean,
I'm
we
joking.
are, but
yeah.
Because remember when we used to fight?
Oh my God. Oh my God. If you remember back in like the early episodes, like 1 through 7 or something.
Probably even more than that.
Probably even
like
more
1
than that.
through 20.
But if you go back and listen to our old stuff, like, and you listen and there's like a clear cut and all of a sudden the mood has changed, that's right after a fight.
We used to get in so many
so
fights.
bad.
But it was so funny because once we were done with the podcast that night, we would not be fighting anymore.
Yeah, we would just go back to normal.
It's just a business fight.
Yeah.
That's how
It's like
I
being
saw
in
it.
a band.
Oh, I don't know.
Although usually when you're in a band with your wife, it gets a little. But anyway,
Slutty?
no. What's the opposite of that? But
Bloody?
But you know what makes the brothers so interesting here? The Gecko Brothers, which is the Gecko Brothers is a play on the Frog Brothers from the Lost Boys. Anyway, but I don't know why anybody needed to know that, but you have Richie, like we said, who's clearly out of his mind and explosive. And then you got Seth, who's more level-headed, still got that explosive anger, but more calculated than Richie. And it's two sides of the same coin. You know, you have a yin and yang thing going on here. It's the duality and stuff.
Right.
I'll save all that duality talk and stuff when we go into Trauma Month, where I try to make trauma movies so deep. And they are.
No.
I beg of you people to watch trauma movies in a different light. But I noticed something here during this scene especially. You know how Richie comes to the door, has the ice bucket and says, me and my lady friend, when we're going to need to borrow some ice.
We need your ice
We need
bucket.
your ice bucket. I love how he delivers that line. But that is the only exchange of dialogue that Richie and Jacob have in this entire movie.
Oh,
they
yeah.
never talk to each other again.
No.
Or even, they barely fucking look at each other. Like, it's just, I don't know why that's so interesting to me.
So Jacob is driving them to Mexico because Seth told him to. And Seth asks about Jacob's wife, and he says that she died in a car accident. And Seth tells him that he doesn't want any funny business, of course.
Yeah.
And he just wants to get into Mexico and have Jacob and the kids stay with them one night to keep their cover, and then he will let them all go. And of course, Richie is checking out Kate super hardcore in the back.
And can you really do a Tarantino movie without mentioning the man's obvious foot fetish?
No.
Every single one of his movies, even if it doesn't call for a foot shot, there is a foot shot in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had 1 million of them.
Oh, really?
Loved that movie. But like I said,
I was like, yeah, you said that before. Oh,
I really do love that movie, though. I think I've watched it like 5 or 6 times. I just
and you
throw
and your
it on.
you and your sister. Oh my god, talked about that movie for like an hour. I'm like, damn, you could have just watched it together. Like, you didn't need to like talk about it. You could have just
That's so
watched
funny.
it.
That's so funny. Oh yeah, there's a lot of feet in this movie, and like I said, me and Tarantino, we could have a lot to talk about. I feel
So is there like a foot type?
okay.
Like,
So we talking foot fetish now? All right, let me get comfy. I'll light up a cigarette.
so is there like a foot type? Like, you're like, see a foot and you're like, ooh, a foot, or you're like, I don't like that kind of foot. I like this kind of foot.
Yeah, I'd say I like the arches and stuff like that. That's cool. Bottom of feet, pretty cool. But the thing is, and here's this is coming from, if Tarantino's out there, I understand you, my man. But like when you like feet, it's like boobs.
No,
I'm not going to turn down looking at somebody's feet.
okay.
They might not be great, but I'll still look. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just like boobs. You're never going to say no to some boobs.
Okay. I get you.
So there you go.
So, okay. Do you have a foot type? Like, is there like
all of Tarantino's movies? Just go and look. Just go look at all the foot shots in his movies, and you'll see my type of foot.
Oh my god!
I told you.
My type of foot. That's so weird to me. Oh,
but it's
my
true.
God.
But it's true. You just go and you look at everyone in foot and some. Yes, I know this. There is a foot database that you can go look at that has all Tarantino's foot shots in his movies.
Wow.
Oh, untold secrets.
Wow.
You heard it here, folks.
So painted toes or not painted toes?
Depends on my mood,
Oh.
Like sometimes you like to see boobs under some nice lingerie.
Oh.
But not necessary, It's not necessary at all.
Oh my god. What the fuck? Have you seen women's feet when they have, okay, I know this is really weird, but acrylic toenails? Like they have like a full set of acrylic toenail. Never mind.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. The fake nails.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Okay.
Like, why you got to put fake nails on your toes?
Yeah, that's a little strange.
Like, what do you need that for? Or you see those ones where they're sharp?
Yes.
It's like stick it. It's like, what are you doing, man? You're not a fucking like monster. Like, you fucking gargoyle toes. Like, what the fuck is this?
Have you seen the ones where like the women like grow out their fingernails, but they also grow out their toenails, and it's like all curled and stuff?
Gross. See,
Have
okay,
you
that's
seen-
not my
you know
foot
what I'm
type.
talking about? That's not my foot type.
Anyway, talking
Ooh.
feet with Lee and Brittany. The Footcast coming 2021.
No.
Just me and Quentin Tarantino talking about feet.
Oh my
So
goodness.
you know what? I really like it when they paint them black. And they, if you've ever listened to Quentin Tarantino talk, you know what I'm doing there.
So they make it to the border. Seth and Richie take Kate into the bathroom to hide, and Jacob tells the officer that it's just him and his son. Then the officer hears something and decides to check the camper, and Jacob's like, "Oh, that's just my daughter." And he's like, "Oh, I thought you said it was just you and your son." He's like, "Oh, and my daughter."
Excuse me while I shit myself. The whole time Jacob is crapping.
He's like, "What the fuck?"
So, okay, we all know and love, maybe not you, we all know and love Cheech Marin, most famous for his role in the Cheech and Chong stoner comedies. But he really gets to flex his acting muscle when he's in a Tarantino and Rodriguez movie. He appears in almost all their films, mostly Rodriguez's movies.
Oh, that's funny.
And his roles are usually serious ones, which is kind of nice to see him do.
Right.
You know, not saying he never got to play a serious role, but, you know, when you're constantly seeing somebody in a role like Cheech and Chong, which I know you know of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're constantly seeing that, and then you see him actually acting,
Right.
you're like, oh, well... It's pretty good.
So this is Cheech.
Yes.
And then Chong is the one that's in That 70s Show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But Cheech plays 3 roles in this movie. In fact, he plays the border guard, Chet, the pussy salesman at the door. Later on, we'll get to him, and Carlos at the end. So it's kind of cool.
I was wondering if that was him at the door. Okay. I got
But you get to see him play all these different roles in one movie, and he does a really good job at all of them.
Right.
Like, you don't really see Cheech Marin. You see the character he's playing, and that's what's kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. So Kate pretends to be taking a shit when the officer comes to check and see what's going on. Richie and Seth are hiding in the shower area. And surprisingly, they get away with it and they get across the border. Seth tells Jacob to drive to the titty twister.
The titty twister. My favorite part of that whole scene where they're hiding in the bathroom and stuff is when Seth sucker punches Richie in the face to shut him up.
Yes.
No, you called me a fucking nut. And what I love about George Clooney in this movie, if you notice, his character has a tick. He added this tick to his character where he kind of jerks his neck and stuff. You notice it a couple times in the movie that he does it when he gets real fucking pissed off.
Right.
And so it's cool what he brought to this character. In fact, the tattoo he has, whoa, almost burnt myself with a cigarette. I'm very excited about this movie, but the tattoo he has going down his arm and his neck, that was all George Clooney's idea. He thought that would be cool to add to the character. Which was kind of a pain in the ass in retrospect because they had to take that thing off with gasoline.
Oh, God.
Every day because he had to shoot scenes for ER.
Oh, God.
Yeah. So it's a pain in the ass. But so another actor almost portrayed Seth Gecko, and that was Joe Pilato. And we covered Pilato in our episode of Day of the Dead where he played the asshole Captain Rhodes, one of the best horror movie villains we talked about.
Sure.
Remember, he gets ripped apart and he's screaming choke on it at the end of that movie.
Yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking
about.
Okay, I know, yes.
Did you forget Day of the Dead?
Yes.
Hang on, there's going to be a long pause and then we're going to come back in a different mood. About to be a fight.
Whatever.
Not really. We don't fight that often. But
anymore.
What's interesting about that is you can actually see Joe Pilato as Seth Gecko in this old pitch trailer created to sell the concept of the movie for studios. Oh. And it is floating around, and it's one of the best uses of YouTube. But you can watch that on YouTube now, and you get to see Joe Pilato in the suit and everything with his hair slicked back. And it's a very interesting look. It probably would have ruined this movie, but but it was very different. It was actually really cool. Nice.
So they make it to the titty twister. There's fire and biker dudes, and the doorman is talking about, which is Cheech, like you said.
Yeah.
He's talking about all kind of pussy that they have there.
I don't know why I like this part, but he's like, we got velvet pussy, silk pussy, naga hide pussy. We got
Smelly
dog pussy, horse pussy, chicken pussy.
He's just going on and on and on. So Seth says that they're going to go in, wait for Carlos, who's going to take them somewhere else, Em and Richie. But he says they have to stay there till Carlos gets there. So they go to the front, beat up this doorman. I don't know if I missed it because she wouldn't shut the fuck up or what.
Because I wouldn't shut the fuck up. You probably missed it because I wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Right. But for some reason they beat him up. I don't
Well, he goes
recall
to
why.
stop them as they're walking in because as we find out from another one of my favorites, Danny Trejo, coming up in a minute.
Right.
But we find out that the bar is only meant for bikers and truckers.
Right.
And there's a good reason for that. It might have to do with vampires. I don't know, you guys. Stick around.
So he tries to stop them, so they beat him up.
Yeah. So why a strip club?
Because why not?
I mean, yeah, but I'm sorry, that was funny. You're like, well, why not? I mean,
You didn't expect that, did you?
I mean, this is a cool fucking movie. Why not go to a strip club? It's the next obvious scene. But by now,
I don't know about that.
but by now, even if you haven't seen From Dusk Till Dawn, you know it's about vampires. Everybody knows this movie's about vampires. It's no mystery anymore. But the titty twister was actually modeled after the jungle compound inhabited by Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. Another random useless fact. But that twist that we are dealing with vampires that comes here in a little bit.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the titty twist.
The titty twist. But, you know, many of us were surprised about that in 96, like I said. And it isn't fresh by now, you know. I mean, like I said, everybody knows.
Right.
But, Lord, that was a shock. But the question, you know, a lot of people ask is, well, why would these vampires hide out in a strip club? Why not just hide out and then go hunting, you know, like normal vampires do? Like in most of the vampire movies you saw, they mostly had a central location that they would spread out and go hunt people, you know.
Right.
It's traditionally how they did it in the movies. But the thing is, like, I look at these vampires as sirens. And what better way to lure people to their death than a fucking strip club in the middle of nowhere?
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And gear it for just truckers and bikers only, you know. In fact, if Trucker Jerry is listening, please stay far away from titty twisters.
He's like, I've been to all the titty twisters.
And he survived? Is Trucker Jerry a vampire?
Shh. He doesn't want us to know.
It's a secret. But I can't honestly say I wouldn't stop here. And I don't even like strip clubs, but I'd go grab a few drinks at some place called the Titty Twister where people are beating the shit out of each other and they have fresh carnitas on the bar.
I mean, why not?
Did you see that when you walked in? Fresh carnitas?
No, I was not paying attention to carnitas on the bar.
Oh, I got hungry. Every time I see this scene, you see that pig in the roaster and stuff, and you're like, oh.
I did not know there was a pig in the roaster.
Oh, I'm going to need Danny Trejo to cut me up some pork. But anyway.
And make me a taco.
Oh, man. Do you know how bad I want to go to Trejo's Tacos?
I know. Maybe when the pandemic is over.
I got to go. I'm a quarter Hispanic, so it's like kind of like I gotta try all the tacos. I gotta have them all.
Tacos.
Did I tell you about when I lived? Okay, here in Tulsa at 21st Street, there is taco trucks as far as the eye can see. It's like the taco.
I know
motherland.
that's where I worked on Saturdays.
Yeah. It's like the taco motherland down there. It's amazing. So when I was like living alone and stuff, I took like $100 and went to every taco place.
Oh my god!
Had all the tacos. But anyway,
when you didn't have the money to go get tacos.
No, I was spending money I did not have. In fact, I think I could blame the tacos for me getting like kicked out of my apartment for not paying the bills. But I got tacos. But anyway, this isn't the taco cast.
No. So this is some weird strip club meets biker bar, and they even have a live band. They almost get kicked out because, like you said, it's for truckers and bikers. But Jacob saves the fight from happening by telling them that he is a trucker and even shows his Class 2 license because he was a trucker.
Is that true? Do you really have to have a Class 2 license to drive an RV?
An RV, no.
No?
But he is a trucker. Like, he has a license.
Oh, okay. Well, because he says, in order to drive that vehicle, you got to have a Class 2 license. And stuff
right.
like
You
that.
don't have to. No.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know.
No. But he was saying before when he was talking about his wife and stuff, that he was a trucker.
Oh, okay.
Or he was saying it to the kids.
Well, I know he was
like
a
that.
pastor, but I didn't know.
Yeah, but I guess he was a
that.
trucker too, because he said it's not like, because he was talking about sleeping in a regular bed because the kids didn't want to stay at the motel. And he was like, it's not the same as a truck bed or whatever. I caught it. It made sense to me.
The fact is.
Anyway, he shows his Class 2 license. So they order a bottle of whiskey and sit at a table, and they get Kate and Scott to drink with them.
I want to do this sometime. I want to go to a
Get
bar.
minors drunk?
No. Hang on. I'm not the weird guy that lives in the apartment complex. Like, hey, man, we can get him to buy us liquor. Will you guys please hang out with me if I buy you liquor? We all had that guy, but
I didn't have that
we
guy.
did. The guy was sad as fuck. He was on his second divorce. Fucking just bought us liquor for us to just hang out and watch movies with him.
He wanted to diddle you.
He may have. But
That
I was the fat kid, though. Nobody wanted to diddle the fat kid. But
I mean, you're the easiest one to diddle.
I can't run very far
Exactly. And you're tempted with food and liquor.
in movies. Oh, God. Oh, he probably could have taken advantage of me. But like, oh, you got all these movies? And alcohol?
And tacos?
And food and tacos?
And pie?
I mean, all right. And all I got to do is take off my pants? Okay. I could do that for free at home. Okay. Oh, sweet Jesus. That's not funny. I'm sorry, everybody. Anyway, moving on.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning on this episode. I don't know who we think we're talking to because I know I've seen the listener comments and none of them would shy away from that joke. I keep thinking there's going to be that one guy or something just got home from Sunday school and like, I'll turn on this movie up. I'll turn on this podcast about movies. I bet that's dignified.
Nope.
Mother, they're making fun of child rape. Anyway, moving on. But like I said, aside from the vampires, the Titty Twister seems pretty fucking awesome. The in-house band, in fact, is Tito Tarantula, comprised of Robert Rodriguez on guitar, the drummer from Oinga Boinga on drums. That band keeps popping up in our show. And then Tito Lariva on lead. By the way, Robert Rodriguez actually does play a mean fucking guitar. In fact, in a few scenes where Scott Fuller, you see him playing a black guitar, in that scene in the hotel room, he's sitting there playing a guitar.
Yeah.
That's actually Robert Rodriguez's personal guitar. He kept on set with him just to jam out in the middle of things. These guys are so fucking cool. Anyway, of course, how the fuck can we not mention the man, the legend, the taco tycoon, and donut shop owner now, Danny
Nice.
Trejo, Trejo's Donuts. Danny Trejo, who appears in so many movies and instantly makes them 1,000 times better for him being there. Like, I've watched so many shitty movies just because he's in it. And then I'm like, okay, I saw Danny Trejo. I'm good now. Just watch his part. But I watched a movie called Ghostquake just because Danny Trejo is in it.
That sounds really stupid.
It's as stupid as it sounds, but Danny Trejo is in it, and I watched it for that.
Nice.
But he, Danny Trejo's probably had the best Hollywood story that's super inspirational. He began life as a drug addict and a criminal, being in and out of jail for 11 years. In fact, while serving time in San Quentin, he won some boxing titles, completed a 12-step program, and cleaned up his entire way, And in 1985, he became a sponsor for a young man who called him one day, needing help fighting his addiction and stuff like that, calling him up for help because he was his sponsor. And when Trejo arrived, to help him out, he found that he was on the set of Runaway Train, which was a big movie with Eric Roberts and Brittany hadn't seen anything. So I'll move on. But Trejo.
I was thinking of the song. I don't know.
Runaway train, never going back.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
It was playing in my head.
But Trejo was immediately offered a part as a convict extra, mostly due to his looks,
Oh, yeah.
especially at this time. I mean, in this movie alone, Danny Trejo is built like a fucking brick house.
Oh, yeah.
Beat the shit out of everybody. But he was immediately offered a part as a convict extra, and as luck would have it, the screenwriter on that movie served time with Danny in San Quentin.
Oh.
So he gave him an extra $350 a day to train the actors in boxing.
Nice.
In that movie. But, do yourself a favor and read more into Danny Trejo, who's like truly a Mexican American treasure that I'll cry my fat podcaster eyes out when we lose him one day.
Well, that's a long time from now, so it's okay.
Danny Trejo's going to live forever. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
I think when he dies, he immediately becomes a saint, right? Saint Trejo?
I don't think so.
No? Shit.
No.
Okay.
So everything gets quiet in the club, and Santanico Pandemonium comes on stage, and she's wearing a huge yellow snake and dancing. She ends up putting her foot in Richie's mouth, and he really likes it.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
does.
why not? But
I think even without the foot fetish, if like Selma Hayek wanted to stick her foot in your mouth, you'd be cool with it.
I mean, I'm good.
Yeah, let's do this.
Okay. She pours a drink, the whiskey down her leg, and it's dripping off of her foot. Why are you looking at me like that?
I had flashes of that scene.
I know.
Like,
I could
whoa.
see it in your eyeballs.
Oh, Tarantino's a lucky dude. Anyway, so Selma, holy fuck, I have a foot fetish. Hayek is the reason I'm way too into evil women, I think. I was around 9 or 10 when I first saw this. Way too fucking young again. I really got to talk to my parents about this. But and holy fuck, the dark eye, the dark hair, the big eyes, and the fact that she knew, or that she knew she could have any of these men groveling at her feet, and they were just food. She didn't fucking give a shit. Which, by the way, this works off of that siren thing I talked about.
Right,
like luring men to their deaths. Because if you notice, all of them except for Kate are like just hypnotized by her as soon as she starts dancing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, it got silent in there.
Yeah, but like Kate isn't. Like she's like, what the fuck?
She's like, I don't want to be a strip club.
But yeah, my whole taste in women, that's a whole thing my therapist probably needs to hear at some point.
You don't have a therapist.
Eventually, I'm probably going to have to get one. There's a lot of repressed things in my brain. But anyway, Selma was actually a second go on the character. Now, originally, Tarantino wrote her as a white woman, and her name was Blonde Death, But Tarantino decided to go with a Latino star. Tarantino Latino. Wow, that's a mouthful. But like the foot. But I'm sorry. I'll stop talking about feet, everybody. I'm sorry if I grossed every one of our listeners out tonight. But so he changed the character's origin, and we got Santanico Pandemonium. Now, Tarantino actually got the name of this character from a Mexican horror movie about a possessed nun he had seen on the video store shelf where he worked. And yes, I own this one. Selma Hayek had no choreographer for her dance number. In fact, Robert Rodriguez just told her to go with the music and go with it wherever it takes her. So this whole thing was just her, like the dance and stuff. This is all her. Now, one of the problems she faced, though, is she had a huge phobia of snakes, like a big phobia, like an Indiana Jones sized phobia. If you guys... You don't know those movies.
I don't know either.
Anyway, but she knew this scene in particular cut this part out for her. So she decided she wasn't going to do this. But Robert Rodriguez tricked her into thinking that Madonna was going to get the part. So I figure Selma Hayek fucking said no. Hang on. This is a Latino character. You're not giving it to fucking white ass Madonna, which I'm so glad they didn't give Madonna a role in this movie.
Right.
It would have cheapened it. But so Selma spent 3 months with therapists, multiple therapists, trying to overcome her fear of snakes. And while it's a short-lived part, Selma Hayek is arguably one of the things people remember most about this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Her dance was supposed to be to the tune of Down in Mexico by the Coasters, but they went with After Dark and used that Down in Mexico song for Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof years later. But one of the funniest things, though, if you watch the behind-the-scenes documentary, which came with my DVD set, Full Tilt Boogie is what it's called. It's the making of From Dusk Till Dawn. If you watch that, they show her after she's done the snake scene and she is trembling. So the fear was not completely subsided.
Oh, no.
Which, by the way, that thing is huge. It's a yellow Burmese python, I think is what that thing is.
Something.
I don't know. I love snakes. We need to get a snake.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dance around with it, but
Sticking your feet in people's mouths.
Oh, hey guys. I'm just I'd say this isn't what it looks like, but it really is what it looks
It's
like.
exactly
It's
what
exactly
it
what it looks like.
So when the dance is over, some of the guys come to fight Seth and Richie for being up the guy in the front.
Uh-huh.
So they end up unloading on one of the guys that laughs at them for whatever reason. I don't even know. They just start fucking fighting. They just start fucking fighting.
Yeah. I mean, fuck. It's okay.
We're in a biker bar, okay?
Yeah. So this is the end of the first half of our movie, starting now.
Right.
Because up next, we're about to hit horror territory hard and fast. Which, what's cool about this pairing of Tarantino and Rodriguez is that they play so well off of each other, like I said. Tarantino has that great writing with fleshed out characters and scenes with long bits of dialogue that in anyone else's hands could have been boring, but not with Tarantino. Robert Rodriguez, on the other hand, has a way with action. You know, he grew up with the grindhouse and low budget movies like Tarantino that we all know and love. But while most directors who love those films go way out of their way to make carbon copies of those things, looking at you, Rob Zombie, Rodriguez employed the look and style, but made his own mark with these things. Like Sam Raimi, you know, Rodriguez came up with a lot of different camera techniques and a lot of different things because when you're on such a low budget, it does force you to be more creative, as we've discussed on the show before. You'll see a lot of these little moments where the movie, it's not really blatant, but there's a lot of winking moments at you, you know, letting you know this is a fun ride.
Oh, right,
you know?
right.
But, you know, I say that I love every one of Tarantino's movies.
Mm-hmm.
Rodriguez is a little different. I love most of his movies, but like maybe not every single one of them. He doesn't have such a tight filmography, especially in his later years, because he started doing a lot of kids movies like Shark Boy and Lava Girl and fucking Spy Kids. All the Spy Kids movies are him.
Oh, okay.
Which it's kind of weird because none of those movies that he makes like that ever fly across my radar.
Right.
It's like Rodriguez decides to do a movie and then he shoots an email to all of us is like, hey, you might not be digging this. You're going to see a trailer online. It's not a movie you like. Don't worry. I'll come out with a movie called Alita Battle Angel and you'll hear all about that. But it's weird. I don't know.
Okay.
But it's funny to think about because like in his Spy Kids franchise, Antonio Banderas, Danny Trejo, Cheech Marin, everybody's there. It's just a kids movie.
Right.
It's very funny.
He's like, I like who I like. Okay.
And Spy Kids made millions. I mean,
yeah.
So I'm not going to say it's a bad movie. It's just.
I got you. So, Centenico, I cannot say this.
Centenico
turns into a vampire. She bites Richie and then he ends up dead. Then the guys they killed turn into vampires, and then all the strippers turn into vampires too.
Bum bum bum.
So All these people are fucking vampires.
Yes, yes. Now, this bar carnage scene was actually supposed to go on for a lot longer than what we get, with tons of gore and effects done wonderfully by the K&B effects group. In fact, there was one scene where a stripper's stomach opens up into a full mouth of like sharp teeth and chews a biker's head off. Like, you can see that in the deleted scenes. And in fact, when they all line up, the rest of the vampire strippers, you see that one on the end with this big open stomach. Like, that's where that came from. But the story is that scene got cut because Tarantino thought it was just too gross. So he cut it. What's really funny, and a little scene we didn't really touch on, is that's Greg Nicotero sitting at the table with Tom Savini, because there is a little intro to everybody before Santanico dances.
Right.
And they kind of go around. You meet Frost, you meet Sex Machine, but where Tom Savini's sitting as Sex Machine is Greg Nicotero on one side, and then another guy. I think he's part of the K&B. I can't remember, but another guy. Basically, whoever's sitting at this table is all effects guys, and that's pretty awesome. It's kind of cool. But Greg Nicotero gets his beer stolen away, and this is kind of an important scene because it sets up the dick and balls gun.
Because that was important.
It's very important.
We see it one time, so it's important.
It's a very important gun.
We see it one time for 4 seconds, and it's very important.
Fucking off the wall, and no one comments on his dick and ball gun.
Because we're not teenagers.
I think it's amazing. This was one of the scenes where I was like, the dick and ball gun, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm a teenager.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I have not grown.
No.
I hit 16 and I stopped aging.
Good thing you don't look like you did when you were 16. Though.
Oh, fuck. Dude, if you guys could look at pictures of me at 16, you could tell I couldn't decide what the fuck I wanted to be. I was like part hippie, part goth, part 70s stoner. It was weird. Weird time for me. I'm sure 16 was weird for everybody, but it was especially weird for fat me. Odd. But anyway, yeah, we get Tom fucking Savini in this movie, so if you needed any more reason for it to be cool, here we go.
Right. So there's
question though. I'm gonna interrupt you. Question: would this gun fucking work?
I don't know.
I feel like the blowback would bust you in the nuts.
I don't know. I don't have a dick and balls or a dick and balls gun.
Well, I think the dick and balls gun works a little different than a regular dick and balls. I have one of those, and I can tell you it doesn't fire like a gun.
I wasn't saying that the gun shot like that.
I'm going to shoot for real.
Oh my God, that's not what I meant. What I meant was if you had a gun on your junk, like pressed against your junk, I wouldn't know what that feels like.
Well, I've never had a gun pressed against my junk. I hope I never do.
Anyway,
back to
can
the movie.
I talk now? Thank you. So there's people all over the place. Fights everywhere. People getting killed. One of the guys tries to get Kate, but she makes him swallow her cross and he blows up. Then we have a really cool scene of Tom Savini killing vampires. Carnage. I love the scene. But like the scene where she kills Chet, and that's the one she puts the cross down his neck and he blows up. I swear that is an homage. And I couldn't find it anywhere, but that little scene where he's like, I'm in agony, and he like turns over and his eyes blow out and that milk comes out. I didn't see that, but okay.
Oh yeah. I swear that's like an homage to the Evil Dead. It has to be, because it's the same white milk stuff that's shooting out of their eyes. And you know, the K&B effects guys worked on the Evil Dead movies, so it makes sense.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I just stupid things I notice. But yeah, we get Tom Savini killing vampires. And it's cool because we get him whipping vampires. And even Danny Trejo gets one of the coolest death scenes in this movie, where he gets staked to the pool table. And then like when he catches fire and stuff, his eyeballs roll into the corner pockets. It's fucking insane.
Pandemonium. I just keep calling her all kinds of different things.
You can just call her Selma Hayek.
Selma Hayek tells Seth that she's going to make him her slave. And as she's telling him that, she's going to treat him like a dog. He finds this bullet reloads his gun and shoots the chandelier above her, and it falls and kills her.
Yeah, which one of my favorite lines there is improvised. In fact, George Clooney just made this up on the spot where he goes, "No thanks, I already had a wife."
Right.
And he kills her. Honestly, this part kind of gets me a little bit because while it does help me understand a few fetishes I have about women, with her forcing him down on the floor. Anyway,
With her foot.
yeah, footstool and all. But I felt Santanico dies way too early.
It's fine.
I know, but aside from like Frost and Sex Machine here in a little bit, like that's the end of our individual vampires. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just felt like maybe they could have kept her longer. I don't know. That's
it wasn't needed.
It's my one little thing. But I mean, you do get a prequel, which we'll talk at the end of this.
Oh my
a prequel
God, no.
all about her, which I was happy about. But no Selma Hayek, so that was kind of a negative for that one. But anyway, moving on.
So Frost goes head to head with the vampire and rips his heart out. When the charges back, Jacob and Seth end up beating it to death with a baseball bat. Savini stabs the heart of the vampire and it finally like actually dies.
Which I love it because Frost is sitting here holding
this heart. Yeah.
And Sex Machine goes, I feel like you're.
I called him
feel like
Savini.
you can call him whatever you want. Everybody understands. I hope everyone's seen this movie. But like he grabs that pencil. I love this moment. And he just like sticks it into the heart and that kills it. Oh, but Frost is played by Super Bowl and blaxploitation legend Fred Williams. And now Frost and Sex Machine were supposed to be opposites of each other, and they are here. But Tom Savini's original character name was Frost.
Oh, okay.
And Sex Machine was Fred Williams, but they switched that out. Probably due to the cock and balls gun. I really think that was probably because, I mean, Sex Machine would have a cock and balls gun.
Right.
But all of this movie is way the fuck over the top if you haven't caught that by now.
Oh, yeah, for
and
sure.
Stylized. And that goes back to Tarantino and Rodriguez's love of Grindhouse and director and writer Sam Fuller. In fact, anyone who loves the movies from Dusk Till Dawn is homaging knows who Sam Fuller is.
Sure. Sure they do.
One of these days, we got to do like a Grindhouse month so I can fit all these facts about Grindhouse movies. And in fact, the fact that they weren't called Grindhouse movies until later. If I could fit all that into 1 month, that would, I think, purge me of all this stupid shit I know. But Sam Fuller, just think of him as one of the granddaddies of Grindhouse, if you want to.
Grandpappy.
The grandpappy of Grindhouse.
Okay.
But I first saw this, as I said, when I was way too fucking young. And it was actually my first Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez experience. You know, I hadn't seen Desperado. I hadn't seen Pulp Fiction. Which, I mean, why would I? Why would I watch this? I had a weird upbringing when you really sit down and think about it.
Oh, yeah.
But no. This was my first experience with these guys' properties, and I'll admit I'm one of those Tarantino film school guys who loves everything he does and thinks he's the fucking best director ever. But I loved this movie so much. This movie was so awesome to me, and it really got me into like the 70s exploitation movies and stuff like that. Because my dad was like, well, if you like this, then you'll like these movies and stuff.
Right.
And that's how I discovered a lot of the stuff I know. But like, but I love this so much. I really wanted to have a screenplay as a copy I could read, which again, people, if you understood the amount of nerd I am, you'll understand why that was so appealing to me. So I wanted a screenplay. Now, this is a time where I don't know that screenplays can total 300 pages and they're not front to back or anything. This is just, you know, just one page per writing. And so like, I'm like, well, I'll just print it out. And back then you had these monstrous, but cheap, expensive home inkjet printers. Remember the old, like big ass printer and fax machine things.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this was. So keep that in mind. So I set to printing out a copy of the From Dusk Till Dawn screenplay.
Oh my gosh.
long story short, I broke my mother's printer and was banned from ever printing things again. I got about, I think, halfway through this thing. But this was such a, I don't know why either. I couldn't tell you, but it was such an important movie to me that, like, even in art class, which we're looking at it right now, it's on the desk here in the studio. But even in art class, I made it. We were tasked with an assignment to build birdhouses. So what does Lee do? He doesn't build a simple birdhouse or maybe an Art Deco birdhouse. No, he builds a titty twister birdhouse that the art teacher failed to inspect before it went into the kiln somehow. But that thing, that titty twister right there, had the titty twister sign up top with the boobs and the pinching and everything. And it said the titty twister. So long story short, as soon as it came out of the kiln, they made me break the sign.
Oh, no.
I had to break the sign off and throw it away. And I was so sad. But I have the titty twister birdhouse staring right at me. I don't know how usable a birdhouse it is, but
not.
But what's really funny, if you look in there, I made the bar. I made the stage. I made all the little tables. Even in the corner, there's that back room that they go and hide in later.
Wow.
Again, the amount of nerd I am, you guys, I don't think you get.
I'm feeling it more and more every day. Oh my goodness. So, some of the vampire strippers line up and take the guys on that are left alive. Mm-hmm. The guys kill all the vampires, and then they start to burn. And all they have left is the band. But they decide to blow themselves up for some fucking reason.
Know.
I don't
But
understand.
In this movie, the vampires can kill themselves, which is a weird thing.
Right.
Like Frost does it later on, which we don't really talk about because it's not really needed. But like when Frost dies, it's like he decides to melt himself and not be killed.
I don't understand.
It's wild. But I think it's all because they just wanted the band to yell, "Fuck you, good night." Because that's what happens before they explode.
Okay. They just wanted to go out on their own terms.
You're like, I can't. I'm not connecting the dots with this. Why did they blow up?
I don't understand, but okay. So Seth goes to say goodbye to Richie while the others try to get out of the club. And
by the way, more on that band. During the carnage, I don't know if you caught this, but they're playing instruments made out of dead body parts.
Oh, I did see that, yes.
The idea of a human body guitar just cracks me the fuck up.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are jamming out on this thing. And one of them is he playing a fucking a saxophone with a head at the end?
I don't know. I wasn't paying that much attention.
Oh, it's good shit.
There's music in this movie? No, I'm just
kidding. Oh, man. Oh, the music in this movie is killer, man.
You haven't asked me about it yet.
I haven't. I don't know if I should, but I probably will.
Oh, my goodness. Richie turns into a vampire, and Seth won't let anybody kill him. He has two guys hold Richie, the vampire, and Seth kills him himself. And he's very upset. Jacob says that Seth needs to stop getting drunk because they need him to come up with a plan. And all of a sudden, a bunch of bats come flying around the place.
Yeah, on the outside of the
outside,
twister.
right.
Yeah, why are the bats look good for 96? I don't know.
I just saw a bunch of bats flying. I don't know the details.
Give a shit.
I don't pay attention to the details of the bats that are flying around. I'm just like, oh, bats. Okay, cool.
I think this movie has the biggest body count out of all the movies we covered. The total deaths in this movie are 122 when all is said and done.
Holy shit.
Yeah, so I think this is our highest body count that we've hit.
Wow. Like I said, carnage.
Carnage, yes. It's
everywhere.
Amazing. And if you own the DVD or if you want to know more about how long the scene of the carnage was actually supposed to be, they have all the deleted scenes. So you can sit there and watch them all. And it is lengthy. It would have been like at least a good 15 minutes of just death.
Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. Now, all the people that got bit by the vampires are turning into vampires again. Or now.
Yeah.
And one tries to get Kate. Sex Machine ends up saving her, but ends up getting bit by another vampire. Seth decides they need crosses and all kinds of stuff, and he starts making remarks about Jacob's faith and basically tells him to get his faith back because he can't wallow in his wife's death any longer.
Yeah, and some great acting in this movie, and I think that really helps sell this.
Oh, yeah.
It really helps make this movie more serious because, I mean, on paper, this is silly. All
Right.
this is very silly.
So Frost starts telling stories about how he was in the war with his dead friends all around him.
I was in Nam.
And Sex Machine starts hearing voices, and then he turns into a vampire. He jumps on Frost and bites him. He hits everyone else, and Frost ends up throwing him. He hits the floor, and all of the bats come flying. Oh, he hits the door. Sorry, not the floor.
Yeah, he breaks the door open.
And all of the bats come flying in. Kate, Scott, and Seth run into a different room, and Jacob is hiding underneath the bar.
Right. So all fucking hell breaks loose, basically.
Oh, yes.
Which I love the fact that you don't, in this movie, you don't have to wait long for something to happen.
Oh, no.
And that's
not
very
at all.
much needed. Like I said, the biggest sin a movie can make is that it's boring, and this movie is never boring. From Dusk Till Dawn does not let you down.
No, not for 1 minute. So Jacob makes a cross out of a baseball bat and a gun, and when he stands up, all the bats are now vampires. He runs down to the room where the other people are out and tells them that he's been bit.
Yeah.
And he says that they can either hide and wait for them to bust down the door or fight all of them off before he turns.
Yeah, because they need him because he's the
need
pastor, so he can bless the water and stuff like that.
Right.
Which what we get next is pushing this thing even more over the top.
Oh, yeah.
It's one cool ass suiting up for battle scene we get here. We got George Clooney crafting a jackhammer stake weapon. Scott has holy water super soakers, complete with holy water filled condom bombs.
Nice.
Kate is on one mean ass crossbow, and Jacob has his cross shotgun. Does all this sound like a video game? Because yes, it's that awesome. Speaking of video games, we did actually get a From Dusk Till Dawn PC game years later.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice. So they check out all the boxes for weapons they can use. They find all these things, and before they go fight, Jacob wants the kids to promise him that they will kill him when he turns. And they promise, reluctantly, but they promise. So they open the door. Jacob gets the vampires back with this cross that he has. And then there's this weird long pause, and then they all start to battle. They end up fighting all kinds of vampire creatures. Sex Machine is some kind of rat vampire. Jacob's gun ends up going through Frost when he tries to kill him, and he the gun is through Frost's abdomen, right?
Yeah.
And then he's killing other vampires while Frost is on his gun.
And he's cocking that shotgun with the body weight.
Right.
And that fucking rat vampire thing was fucking cool. Not needed, but very cool.
Oh, I agree. Jacob turns and ends up biting Scott.
Yeah.
Scott finds a gun and shoots his dad in the head, but the vampires get Scott anyway. Kate ends up having to shoot him just to put him out of his misery because all these vampires are tearing him apart. Just Seth and Kate are left, and they are getting surrounded by vampires as the light is shining through.
Yeah, and I love the fact that we actually get some main characters dying off. I think what pisses me off the most about American writers and directors is that they're afraid to kill off their main characters. Television is a lot like that.
Oh, yeah.
There's a clear difference. A lot of American TV shows will barely kill off main characters unless the actor is leaving the show. permanently.
Right.
Or fucking half the time they'll just drop a character and not mention it in the next season. So you're like, wait, what? Whereas like the UK properties, they don't give a fucking shit. A main cast member might be killed off in mid-season. Like they don't fucking care.
I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, because there's stakes there. You have stakes, and pun intended, but there's real stakes. People can die,
right?
Like, and I don't know. It's nice. It's nice to know that these aren't superhuman people fighting vampires.
Right. They're normal people.
I gotta ask you though.
Uh-huh.
How many vampire movies have we covered so far? 2? Is this the second vampire movie we've covered?
No.
I
think we've done
The Hunger
and Dracula.
Oh, Dracula. Okay. What vampire do you find more scary so far?
The scariest vampire?
Yeah, out of all these 3 movies we've covered.
0?
None of these are scary to you, really?
No.
So we haven't hit a scary vampire yet.
No.
Okay, cool.
Hotel Transylvania. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding.
An Adam Sandler vampire scares me to my core. That would be really scary. Adam Sandler vampire. Can you imagine that sneaking in your room at night?
Anyway,
I'm gonna bite you.
So Carlos ends up at the titty twister finally.
Say
Whoa,
that a million times.
I cannot. He knocks on the door, but ends up breaking it down because no one's answering.
Right.
And all the light shines through and all the vampires die. Then Seth and Kate run out. Seth hits Carlos because he's pissed that he chose this place to meet. And he tells Carlos about the vampires and he wants to now negotiate a new deal with the money because his brother's dead.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of cool, because Richie suggested that. Like
right.
He didn't even try to negotiate.
Right.
So here at the end, he's negotiating.
So Seth says he's sorry to Kate, gives her a stack of cash, and she asks if she can go with him, and he just tells her to go home. And he drives off and leaves her there, and she gets in the camper and drives away too.
And I love that last line he has where he's like, I may be an asshole, Kate, but I'm not a fucking asshole. He gets in and goes off. And at the very end, we pan out as she rides off in the RV.
The RV camper, whatever.
We pan out. The Dark Knight is blasting by the blasters again. Which, by the way, the soundtrack is killer with some Stevie Ray Vaughan. You got ZZ Top here. It's just badass. But we see the titty twister is just the top of an old giant Aztec temple. And these things are probably under there just waiting for a sequel. And sequels were to be had. I mean, this movie, while not a giant blockbuster, made its money and then some. And the air was rife for a part 2. And we got it. And it was all right. Starring Robert Patrick and even containing a small cameo from Bruce Campbell. But it failed to live up to the original, obviously.
Well, yeah.
Then we got a prequel from Dusk Till Dawn, The Hangman's Daughter, that takes place in the early 1900s, featuring Michael Parks as Ambrose Bierce, and it tells the story of how Santanico Pandemonium came to be. It's actually one of my favorite prequels of all time, which nobody likes this movie but me, it seems. So,
there's a lot of movies like that in the world.
Yeah, I'm hoping somebody out there is like, yeah, that third one was great. But anyway. The train didn't stop there. We got video games that takes place, or one of the video game. It's just one video game, not multiple, but we got a video game for the PC that takes place directly after this one.
Oh, it's a PC game.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then even a TV show on the El Rey network by Robert Rodriguez himself, which was okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. As of now, though, the series isn't looking much like it's alive. I think it's dead for now. But From Dusk Till Dawn was a turning point in both the careers of Robert Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. I mean, hell, it helped Rodriguez reach mainstream after El Mariachi and Desperado, and it helped Quentin Tarantino follow up and give him a gap after his epic blockbuster Pulp Fiction, without having to top that movie in scope. Tarantino and Rodriguez are now Hollywood legends, and the movie even gave us a bigger star in George Clooney, in the way that it showcased how he could be much more than the suave doctor on a primetime soap opera. So I think I've held back. I don't think I spewed too much shit.
Oh, too much shit.
Has it been a lot? Has it been a lot of talking?
I get to see your notes, and you went off of notes a lot. A lot.
Your suggestion for our Patreon members was like, well, we should just give them our completed show because we write these shows. I mean, come on, people. We write these shows, not the jokes. Those are all ad-libbed, but we write these shows. And sometimes I go off notes. Sometimes you go off notes. And we just have a good discussion. But we do write these. But if you read our entire show outline, it's not what we're talking about.
No,
it goes
not
everywhere but the outline. But anyway, so that was one of your suggestions. And that's why I was like, no, that would just confuse them.
I don't know. They might like it.
Yeah, maybe. So like I said, I think I've held back. But what did you think of 1996's From Dusk Till Dawn?
It is a great movie.
Yeah.
I could do without the vampires. I was mad about the vampires, but it's a great movie all in all. I love the action. And you know what? The action is still there with the vampire killing. So I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was just mad.
It's nonstop. I mean, it keeps going.
I like to know what I'm watching. And I like to be told what I'm watching.
You don't like that
when
trick.
I'm watching it.
You don't like that trick.
No, because I'm in a certain mindset. And if it switches, I'm like, what the fuck?
See, me, I'm constantly, no matter what
That's
movie.
your ADHD brain.
No matter what movie I'm watching, I'm constantly like, I wonder if there's going to be a secret werewolf in this or something.
No.
No, there never is. But okay, you loved it. That's great. Like I said, this movie was so important to me. I couldn't even tell you why. It just
was.
It really put me on the road to really like expanding my movie tastes into those 60s and 70s drive-in flicks and like exploitation and grindhouse movies and stuff that really put those kind of movies on my radar after I watched this. In fact, From Dusk Till Dawn is a thing you would see at a drive-in. Like you would see those signs up. You'd see no, I mean like you'd pull into the drive-in's open from dusk till dawn. Like that's
oh, I see what you mean.
It's kind of a play on that, but like But yeah, that's 1996's From Dusk Till Dawn. It's such a good fucking movie. I hope you guys have seen this before you listen to this episode. Many of the listeners watch the movies before, they listen to us because we're so spoiler ridden. I mean, it's not even funny. But I
mean, we really just literally went over the whole fucking movie.
Yeah, we recite this movie. So you may be wondering, Haley, what gives? Why such a short blurb about Danny Trejo?
Oh my God. I thought you were saying Haley. Like, not Haley. I thought you were calling yourself Haley.
My name's Haley.
I was like,
my name's Haley
what?
Now. No,
maybe I'm just tired. I was just like,
just
what the fuck?
But, why such a short blurb about Danny Trejo? Isn't he like one of your favorite or something? And he is. So hold on to your asses because we are headed into satire and grindhouse some more next week with next week's episode on 2010's Machete. Machete. That's right. It's Danny Trejo versus everyone. Machete don't text. He can dodge bullets. And he has sex with everyone who's a female in this movie.
Nice.
In Robert Rodriguez.
Even Lindsay Lohan?
Yes. And her mother in the movie.
Ooh.
It's so fucking great. I love this fucking movie and I cannot wait to talk about it next week. But that's next week. So I guess we're going to go have some Chongo beers and I'm going to look at some feet.
No, mine. Actually, he does. I'm glad people don't. Oh, that sounds really bad. I'm glad people don't live with you.
Oh, God.
You're just staring at feet, spitting.
It's not all the
movie
time.
Facts
it's not all the. Anyway, I'm Lee Evansine. Stay spooky.
And I'm Brittany. Stay horrific.
And if you ever meet us in public, you don't have to hide your feet. It's fine. I'm not a fucking.
Oh, you don't have to hide them, but he will look at them.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. To
To get a hold of us and submit your stories, fan mail, and death threats, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and nightofthehorrorfile.com. Our theme song was written and performed by John Brennan, used with permission. Find John at shopjb.bandcamp.com and at badtechno.com. If you like what you hear, leave a good review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share the show on your social media. See you next week.
God damn, that was intense.